WROK.
Okay, Dave Schmidt along with Matt Nestor and producer Tom Warner. I've been griping a lot about transfers going on in high school. It's getting to be a mess. Anyway, I'm reading every day. I can go on some page, and especially Chicago papers.
Mm-hmm.
Last week it was Decatur. Here's a kid that played at Carmel last year, okay, which Catholic school, the Carmel Catholic school.
Right.
He transfers to Waukegan. You know what happened to Waukegan this year? They had that month-long strike.
Okay.
The reason he left Carmel to go to Waukegan was he couldn't afford the private school anymore.
Right.
This year.
Right.
He's at Waukegan. He's transferred. Now he's eligible because he transferred back to Carmel. Says, I need to get games in.
Mm-hmm.
And he's playing for Carmel already. Does that, and I mean, he's a good, all of a sudden he scored 20 points a game for Carmel at a school he couldn't afford.
Right.
And he's eligible after transferring to a public and gets right now. How does, I keep saying this is going to be my tagline until they fix something. They always need to apologize to Marcus Posley.
They absolutely do. And we've said multiple times, it doesn't hurt him. What did he have, 32 the other night?
36.
36.
That was a record at the Duquesne.
Yeah.
And he also was the highest in the Atlantic 10.
Right.
He can play, buddy.
Yeah, he can play. But they absolutely, they owe Marcus Posley and Auburn an apology. Just the things that have happened and for him not to play, it's ridiculous.
Why do I bring this up? Is because I think 95% of the schools try to go by the eligibility rules.
Right.
And so they lose out, where the other 5% are the Simeons, the Youngs, some private schools, not all private schools. I'm not picking on all. I don't think private schools do it as much as public schools do now.
And honestly, and here's the shocking part about the Posley situation is those are the players that usually have no problem. It seems like with the good players, it always seems to work out.
Yes.
It's like you said, it's the ones that are trying to do things by the book that maybe it wasn't a great player who just happened to switch schools and wants to be on the team and they want him for depth and all that, and that's the one that they don't let play. It seems like that seems to be more what happens. When it's a good player, it always seems to work out, and that's probably just as much shocking as anything else about it. Is that's probably the one instance that you could probably look back over the last few years around the state where a great player transferred and wasn't able to play.
Now, I'm sure somebody cried about it. Somebody made some.
I'm sure it was more than somebody.
Yeah. Also, I read a story out of the Quad City papers. They had a kid on the Iowa side that transferred from Simeon because his mom wanted to get him out of that mess. It is bad in Chicago in certain areas.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he had to sit out 6 months, no matter what.
Right.
And then he was eligible. I don't have a problem with that. That works for everybody. In Ohio, I know Ohio a little bit better than I do some places. If you transfer, if Matt Nestor transfers, you have to miss at least half of the games, but then you're eligible the rest of the half of the games.
Right.
That's for everybody.
Right.
There's no issues and no questions.
And that's the thing is it just needs to be a set rule.
Refined very much.
Right. Stop taking, they need to take these special circumstances out and things like that because that's where they get into trouble. Honestly, is they say, well, we'll think about it, depending the circumstance, and then people will come up with stuff, and then you get pressure from different places, I'm sure, and whatnot, and then you end up making a decision one way or the other. It just needs to be set. Just say, this is what it is, regardless of what your situation is, how sad, how whatever, this is what happens, if you want to transfer.
The Decatur one was the wild one. They had to wait for the mother's permission to say he could transfer. I go, you have got to be kidding me. He went to another school, transferred back to a private school, and now he's playing.
Right. I think sitting out of a year is ridiculous, especially in high school.
But that's the rule. I mean,
I do think that's ridiculous, but maybe something like a half the game or a month of the season or whatever the case.
They got to do something to stop this.
Right. But it needs to be the same for everybody.
Yes, that's it, right there.
If everybody wants to continue to transfer like they do, that's fine. But let's have a uniform set of rules so everybody knows what's going on coming into it, and everybody's playing by the same rules. So maybe you still get a team that ends up stacked because everybody's going to transfer, but now maybe all these transfers are going to have to sit for 10 games or whatever the case may be, or 3 games in football or whatever.
And it might slow up a little bit, some of it that way.
Well, exactly, because now they know going in, okay, I'm going to have to sit, and maybe, and you hate to think about this, but some of these kids, transferring to the big-time schools in Chicago too, could be transferring for some of these early season tournaments where they get to play on some of these big national games.
Yeah.
That could be their sole reason for wanting to get there is because, I know they're going to be playing on ESPN or ESPN2 or whatever against this team from Las Vegas or wherever. That's my chance to get some national exposure and maybe help get me into a college. That could be their only reason for going to a school like that.
I think it's Levette, the one that transferred from California to Morgan Park.
Right.
He's one of the top 15 prospects in the whole country.
Right.
And he's living with friends in Chicago so he can go to Morgan Park. I said,
right.
I mean, it's getting crazy. You know what? I don't mind if you do that.
Right.
If everybody gets to do it the same way, like you're saying, that's fine. Because if a tuba player transfers from one school to another school, he can march in that first football game.
Right.
Let him do it in basketball and football, and we would solve everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Whether they're eligible right away or there's some kind of sitting period or whatever, it just needs to be the same. Regardless of the situation, it needs to be the same.
And it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
At all.
And it's very bad. In Chicago, they say, we got open enrollment. We got 500 schools.
Right.
But you can tell which schools aren't doing the open enrollment thing.
Yeah. But there are people still here that are still mad about the Posley situation. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, both sides.
Well, there's one side that's probably not mad about it.
Yeah.
They got what they wanted out of it. But, there are people that are still upset to this day because they feel like, number one, they robbed a kid of his senior season. And that's the part I hate to see.
And we had the Ball State coach on who had recruited him. Says, man, I'm sure glad he went to Auburn because he got his grades up and he was able to make the transition.
Right, exactly. And again, it worked out well for him at the end of the day because, he got his grades up. He got what he needed to get into college, and it didn't cost him his scholarship or anything like that. But, it cost the kid his senior season, and you cost Auburn, honestly, you cost them a realistic shot at a state championship, I think.
Marcus would have helped.
They would have had a tough time. I think they would have gotten to the championship game with him. They still would have had a tough time there with Simeon and
whoever it was.
I think it was Simeon with Jabari Parker. And
they don't do anything illegal.
Well, no. But they still would have had a tough time there. But you cost them probably a realistic shot at a state title by costing him a season where nobody else seems to get cost in that situation.
And we're not picking sides really on that Posley deal.
No,
we're just saying it should have been treated like everything else.
If that's the decision, that's fine. But then everybody else needs to have that same decision.
Yep.
Otherwise, if everybody else is going to get the opposite decision, then he should have been afforded that same situation. And that's what we're saying.
We're going to put this one on Stateline Sports Hub because it's just getting ridiculous. And I feel sorry because I think parents and coaches are putting kids in the middle, and the state is not helping.
I tell you what, whoever the next person is coming into the IHSA, or whether Marty Hickman wants to do this on his way out, that they need to address this right away, and they need to come up with a uniform set of rules that are going to be the same for everybody across the board.
They can't get everybody to agree. That's the problem.
That
everybody thinks they're getting screwed.
Right.
Excuse my French there.
But, somebody needs to figure it out then.
Yeah.
Other
states are doing better, I think.
Yeah. This is one place where Illinois definitely falls short is when it comes to the transfers.
Just one place that Illinois falls short?
I just said it's definitely one place. Didn't say it's the one place, just definitely one place.
I'll give you a good example in Chicago. My wife is a graduate of Kelvin Park, the Panthers, black and gold. Mm-hmm. You ever heard of them?
Yeah.
No? They got beat last night by Clark, 65-21. I have followed them the last 5 weeks. They have not got out of the 20s.
Yeah.
In any of their games. And they're not playing in the real big division.
Right.
If they get a basketball player there, he's not going to stay because he can go somewhere else and play.
Right.
And that's causing that problem. And that's the state's problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because the state they put their old hands up. I didn't see that one coming.
Right.
Or Chicago was in charge of that.
Right.
And we end up paying for it, I think, in the outskirts. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We'll make something out of you, buddy.
Right.
So,
yeah.
You think it'll ever change?
It's going to have to at some point, I think. Maybe it's not to what we're saying, but I think at some point something's going to have to happen because there's too many of these happening. There's too many people upset on both sides of the situation that I think something's going to happen. They're going to have to find a middle ground at some point.
Yeah, because now it's just like, I'll do it if I want to.
Right.
Oh, wow. We're going to talk bobbleheads next.
All right.
That'll be good. Should be fun. I'll have to buy one. Hey, we're going to take a little news time out with Fox News. You're listening to the Stateline Sports Hour here on News Talk 1440 WROK.